Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Andrea Rinkus. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you. Everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
And whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Even better, all of our guests are local small business owners who you can actually talk to and work with. You can learn more about today's guest and connect with hundreds of other health and wellness professionals through our informative and easy-to-use directory at motherhoodalliance.com.
Before we get started, keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for personal healthcare advice. Please consult your healthcare provider before making any changes based on the podcast content.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Are you ready to help your family thrive? Let's get started. Hi, we are Britt and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a 4-episode series with Megan Fletcher, the owner of Free Bird Healing based out of Waupaca, Wisconsin. Through her business, Megan specializes in supporting women, especially those who have experienced miscarriage, birth trauma, or fertility challenges, by teaching them how to listen to their intuition and how to heal through the somatic healing modality of breathwork. Her journey into this work came through her own personal experiences of grief, loss, and ultimately a powerful return to self. Along the way, she discovered that true healing doesn't come solely from medical treatments, but through deep connection with the body and soul. Megan's passion is helping women feel safe, whole, and deeply connected to themselves and their future children. She truly believes that when women heal, they heal generations. When she's not holding space for the incredible women she works with, you'll find her grounding in nature, moving with the rhythms of life, and cherishing time with her husband and their children, her greatest teachers and inspirations. So take a deep breath right now, get settled in, and get ready to learn some wisdom from Megan. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We are back with episode 3 with Megan. Welcome back, Megan.
Thank you. This has been so fun.
This has been so fun. And we're going to be talking about kind of the whole path to motherhood, a lot about conception, a little bit about after, talking about sisterhood in this and just like the community and how important that is within this episode. But you also talk about the energetics of conception, pregnancy, and motherhood. I think that term can be a little scary to some people, or at least just very unknown. So can you kind of help us understand, what do you mean by energetics, and then how do they apply to the journey of motherhood?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just kind of like what we've been talking about in the past 2 episodes is the energetics is really getting into the body, really listening, really having that intuitive connection and knowing that your body holds the wisdom. And I think that practitioners, getting your hormones aligned and getting your eating down and making sure your body is healthy through working out, those are all pieces to the puzzle. Energetics is that next piece that isn't always talked about because maybe it's scary or maybe it's unknown, but it is a piece that we have to step into, in my opinion, alongside all of those other things that we're doing so that we can birth babies and businesses and lifestyles into our life.
Mm-hmm. And I love staying high level here on like how you just said it can be related to babies, businesses, or just anything else. You also love to talk about moving from force and fear to more of a trust and allowing type mindset. And I would assume that would apply to all 3 of those things, like anything in life.
Absolutely. So when we're in that graspy mode where we're tight in our bodies and we're up in our heads and we're just looking for the next quick fix, we're looking for the next coach, we're looking for the next mentor, we're looking for the next person to fix us or our business or our pregnancy or our womb space, that is when we're in lack and we're in judgment and we're in fear. And when we can release those stories, when we can release those premonitions, we can really step into the fullness of our energetic body and saying, I trust and allow that everything is meant for me, is coming to me. And it might not look, we've said this in another episode, it might not look exactly like we thought it might look. So it might look like you are filling out your adoption papers, or it might look like you're going towards IVF, but I think it's really important that people realize that they get to come home to their body first before they make those decisions, and they get to allow the pieces to fall into place. How many times have we heard the story? Oh, we quit trying and then we had a baby. We gave up the control, and we gave permission for the universe to give us what we're asking for in its own divine timing. We gave up saying, I want it my way.
Mm-hmm. So how can energy, you've talked about energy in our episodes, especially episode number 1, we've talked a lot about intuition, right? And really just kind of listening to your gut feel and really having moments of silence where you can hear and reflect and notice things around you and within your own body. Just diving a little bit deeper into what you said, how can this energy and this intuition influence fertility and the ability to conceive? Because what you're saying is if you can kind of release and let some of this stuff go, it can impact that.
Yeah, absolutely. So something I say and doesn't always align with everybody, but it's so on my heart that I have to keep speaking it, is the souls that are coming into this world, they're not here to just populate the world because we need more people, right? They're here for a purpose. They're here to really move and shift and deepen people into what they're here to do on the earth. And so if there isn't alignment within that mother, within the relationships that mother has, within her body, the health of her body, her physical body and her energetic body, then these souls are like, I'm not ready if you're not ready. And so they're really waiting for women to be ready. And I truly feel that that's the reason we have so many more miscarriages. I feel that's the reason we've been forced through more IVF and more things like that. Is because women are so disconnected from their bodies. We're now creating spaces for babies to come in instead of allowing. And those experiences aren't always reflective of the true way that God intended this to be. Not that I'm saying that sometimes that is your path, but I think that there's just this piece that we need to be reminded to come back home to our body. Is this really my path, or am I forcing?
Can you help me understand what this looks like in like practical terms? Because I love the theory behind this, and but to actually apply it could be super difficult, because I feel like as soon as a person or a couple decide, okay, we're going to start trying, every month when she gets her period, there's these feelings of disappointment. And so like you're saying, we can't always plan our life exactly the way that we want. But I think in society these days, women are constantly hearing these different wives' tales of, oh, if you eat pineapple, you're more fertile. And if you do this,
do more.
Like these things we can do. We get caught up in it because we have this desired outcome.
Yep.
You're saying to try and release some of that. How can you actually do that?
Absolutely. So it all comes back to coming back to the body. Like, what is true for you? Not what worked for my great-great-grandmother and she ate pineapple, right? Like, maybe that was the thing that she told the story, that was her story. But where can we release other people's stories and really step into our own? Because we get choice. There's choices, and that will lead us down one path, and then you could make a different choice and it'll lead us down another path. And when you talk in the energetic world, they talk a lot about like your best timeline or your highest timeline or your like most profound timeline. So the way I understand it is like, or the way I feel it is like, God has these timelines for you. He has all of these different options for you. He wanted to give you choice. And in the end, you're going to come out with approximately the same outcome of the growth that you do, but you can do more in this lifetime if you choose paths of the least resistance. And a lot of times those paths that we're choosing are so resistant, right? Like, I have to eat pineapple every day for a week, or I have to do it like with my feet up in the air. And, like we're not allowing our body to naturally feel into, oh, this is what my body's telling me today. I kind of want to have sex with my husband today. Like those types of intuitive nudges, when you can start to really connect with the body and really get into the energetics of the work, you don't even have to track sometimes. You just know like, oh, I am so fertile today. And that might be a physical thing that you see, but you hadn't correlated it before. And it's also just not getting your head wrapped up in, I have to have a baby on this day because I want it to come out on this day. Babies have their own timing. Your womb space has its own timing. And when we hold those stories from our grandmothers and from the people around us, we hold that fear. We hold that judgment. We hold that it has to be this way. And if you can even listen to my words while I'm saying that, I feel my legs cross and my body tightens and my you clench because you're like, I want to do it my way and I'm going to hold it
control.
there.
I want control.
Yeah. So it's just learning, and you're not going to release control in a day, right? You're not going to learn surrender in a day. I've been working on the word surrender in church, out of church, by myself, in nature for 2.5 years. Surrender is ever evolving for the person. And so knowing that going into a practitioner like myself or another intuitive is that you sometimes get answers that you're like, that was not the question I asked. But it peels back those layers so that you can get back to the answers of your own wisdom.
Yeah, and something we haven't really talked about too is hindsight. Because I feel like when you're in a moment of desire, you're so focused on that, right? But if you look in hindsight as to how your life has played out and the path that God has led you on, like you can understand more about, oh, well, I'm so glad, honestly, that we didn't have a baby at that time because that was the same week that, my mom had that medical emergency. And just however it plays out is just, it's hard in the moment. But then fast forward 5 years, if you're looking back, you might have some new insight into
absolutely.
Why.
I have a really personal story on that. And this actually only came in the last couple of weeks. So it must have been meant for this podcast episode. But I had always said to my husband, I don't want my kids 2 years apart. And we ended up having babies 2 years apart because, I wanted to uphold his values also of not being older than he wanted to be when we were done having kids. And my 5-year-old now, he was born 2 weeks after my brother passed away. And my parents also divorced that year, and my brother got a divorce that year, those years. I mean, I just kind of grouped them. My grandpa had cancer. Like it was just this ball of mess. And it came to me the other day that I was like, I knew I didn't want them 2 years apart, but I didn't know why. In hindsight, yeah, I would love to be like, oh, we just spread them out a little bit more and I didn't have so much in that time. There's also a piece of me that's like, but I learned so much in that time. But the process of that learning maybe didn't have to be so hard had I listened to my intuition. And I think that also brings in a really beautiful piece of the male is the masculine structure, and that's beautiful. And it was great for me to know that he still wanted to he wanted to have a family and he wanted to have a good sized family, but he had some regulations on it. But when a woman feels so deep that this isn't the right choice, she gets to speak up for herself. And it wasn't in a, he did not force me into having a child, obviously. We came to this conclusion together. But had I been more connected to my intuition at that point, hindsight's 2020, I would have said, actually, no, I need to wait 1 more year. My body needed it, like nutrient wise. And we are seeing some things with our 5-year-old that I'm like, if I would have had another year to put nutrients back into my body after having a baby and just regain myself, things may have been a little bit different. And that's not saying back-to-back babies are bad. Just for me and my personal journey, I knew the intuitiveness was there, but I didn't listen. And so we get to learn. We get to tweak that intuition as we grow in our motherhood journey and just journey in life.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like so oftentimes, especially after you have a baby, people talk about this all the time of follow your mom gut. Mm-hmm. Of when it comes to caring for your child. Oh, I took them into the pediatrician for this and they told me to do this, but I just really felt strongly I needed to do this. And it's like, there's so much behind that. So I love that we're having this conversation on how to really hone in and understand what that intuition is kind of telling us. How do you kind of apply this idea of energetics and intuition into our motherhood journey beyond the birth time frame. So even as our kids are getting older, like you're talking about, you're able to reflect now on some of the times of during your birthing season. But how can we, a couple questions here. How can we use our intuition or apply these concepts we're talking about to our kids as they get older? And then how can we teach our kids some of this?
Yep. So I think right there is just being the model, like them seeing you in meditation, whatever that looks like for you, walking outside, going for a walk in the woods, them seeing you put your phone down, at certain times throughout the day, like putting kind of those restrictions on so that they can see you really living life. I think at the bottom line, it's this want to live life with the people that you're present with that teaches them how to be intuitive, because you're being intuitive with them. You're going to know without those distractions, you're going to know what they really need, not because they're scream crying because they got hurt, but there's also all these other things that happened at school today. And your mom intuition says, we just need to breathe. Let's go sit down on the couch and have a cup of tea. And so what I've noticed with my kiddos is when they're really feeling like they need extra connection, they'll be like, can we make a really pretty tea party? Well, that was something I did for them after school for a good couple of years when I really had my stuff together. And honey lemon water. They love honey lemon water. Sometimes they'll pick out an herbal tea at the grocery store or wherever we are. It gives them choice, but they also see, well, mom has tea every morning and that calms her down, or every night, whatever it is. It just teaches them without having to use the words. I'm not saying you have to have tea. I'm saying it might be supportive for your body because you're sick. Honey does this and lemon does this and water does this. And this is what I use it for. Mm-hmm. And so it's always just reflecting, but always coming back to your body first. Like, is this really helping them or is this just fluff? Because sometimes, it's like, oh, I can get the Genexa brand of this and that will help with X, Y, and Z. But when I come back home to my body, I go, yeah, but lemon water and a walk outside would also help. So I'm going to utilize what I have right here and not let other people determine, make me determine what is the best option for my child or for myself.
What role, whether somebody is in the trying to conceive season, young kids, or even pregnancy season, or maybe school-aged kids season, what role do you think community plays in this journey? I know you love the term sisterhood, so talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like there's two types of community. There's the community that's in the social media world where we think we have community. And then there's that community where you sit at the table with another mom and you talk about sex, you talk about addiction, you talk about your husband, and you don't do it in a demeaning way. You do it in a way that comes straight from the heart. You do it in a way that says, I care about this person. I care about my child. I care about myself so much. This is what I'm experiencing, or this is what I'm noticing, back to that awareness piece. And when we do that, I'll bring in that word alchemy again, because we've said it in the last two, where you're alchemizing those fears. You're alchemizing that truth. You're bringing, when you're doing it in a positive way, in a way that really restructures, you're changing your cells. You're changing your DNA. You're saying, I'm not going to do things the way people did them in the past because that's not my story. And you're really standing up for yourself and your body, your intuition, and your movement and path forward. And in doing that, you're also allowing that person to stand up for what they really feel. And this is definitely a trial and error. I have had experiences where I look back and I go, oh my gosh, you were not a good friend there. But I get to reflect on that and I'm not shaming it. I'll go back to self-love. I love myself. I love my path. I love my journey. What pieces can I pull from that and go, okay, so the next time I have a friendship or the next time I meet someone for the first time, probably not going to bring that up immediately. Yeah. I'm going to let my intuition pull through. Another thing that I see in myself a lot is I'll get a little anxious or excited that I just spew when I see people, because I'm like, I'm going to tell them all these things because I know this is all going to come up in conversation because I'm so connected. But I got to breathe first. I have to say, let's take this one step at a time. with conception, with fertility, with birth, with friendships, with relationships, with your children. Be in the now, one step at a time.
I love that.
And as we finish out this episode, do you have any final words of advice or encouragement for a woman who seeks peace in this season, whatever season she's in?
Yeah, I think finding your spaces. So finding your people, finding your spaces. And I know that can feel sometimes daunting, but again, just like we've talked about, is let them come to you. Like when that mom at the park gives you a smile and you strike up a conversation, like allow that to go into, hey, do you ever go hiking or whatever you love to do? And know that this can be with kids and it can be without kids. And sometimes we need that out breath of going to the sauna or going to the salt spa or going to a coffee date with just one person without the extra of the children. But sometimes it's okay to just play with motherhood with your children. And then finding practitioners that you align with. There is so many wonderful people in this community, in virtual land. Like there's so many people everywhere. The Motherhood Alliance is such a resource to you. Use it. Go on there. Read some bios. You're going to know who you align with. Sometimes you know by the first sentence. Sometimes you know by looking at the picture. And not to judge a book by its cover, but really feel into your body of like, does this feel aligned for me? Is this my next step? And that doesn't mean you're going to be going to that person for the rest of your life, right? Because you're not broken. We're always moving forward, but finding those people, because a lot of times the person that you find, maybe the practitioner or that friend, isn't actually like the end, right? Then they're like, oh, have you talked to this person? And oh, this person's really neat. And oh, something you said reminded me of this. Well, then you've got yourself on this journey of like, like little glimmers of hope and sunshine. And you're just like, oh, this is what it feels like to live. Sometimes we get so caught up in doom scrolling that we forget to live.
Gosh, yeah.
And living is where it's supposed to be. Like we were put on this earth to live and to learn and to love.
I feel like so much of what you're saying, even in just that last sentence, is just like, open your mind and pay attention to what is coming into your life, whether it's people, whether it's your gut kind of telling you what you need and being like, I could really just use a coffee date with so-and-so. Like who's coming into your mind? Like you said, there's going to be, if you're looking for wellness support, there's people, especially in the Motherhood Alliance, that have that more of a natural approach, and just, you're going to kind of know who and what you need, but you have to open your mind and pay attention and
listen to those whispers.
Absolutely. And one more thing on that is just like, if you're starting to feel like this is draining my energy, it's taking me down. When I get done with a coffee date with this person or going to this practitioner and you really feel like I could just take a nap, that's typically your first sign that might not be aligned anymore. And I know it's hard with family, but family, friends, practitioners, we have to uphold their energy and our own. And so it's really important to listen to those nudges, because when we free ourselves from somebody, they're also being freed in a way. And so we can look at it not as like, I don't like you and you bring my energy down, more so like, I want better for myself and better for others. And I want us both to be able to keep going on our journey.
Or it's just a time of change.
Yeah.
Too, change is okay.
Beautiful.
I'm trying to teach my kids that change is okay. This was another great episode. I just love that we're able to get these fresh perspectives from you in so many ways. We have not had conversations like this on the podcast yet. So this is just
sitting here reflecting the whole time. I'm like, this is amazing. Just think, just listen to this again. It's amazing.
Yeah. And in our last episode together, we're going to be speaking a little bit more toward practitioners. And I think anybody listening to this, you're going to find this last episode interesting as well. But we're going to kind of take everything from episodes 1 through 3, blend it together into this beautiful smoothie, if you want to call it that, into how practitioners can apply this into making their practice better for their clients or patients. And it's going to start with yourself, right? We'll be talking about that, but then you can also take what you've learned and help people to be more in tune in whatever arena of professionalism you're in. So that episode is the one coming up next.
If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.